You guys, Jim flew in today. He's off a super long tour of the entire country, and he came even though he has a cold. So I want a big round of applause. Huge. Because even more than when I'm dating some guy that's really sweating me and he texts me first thing in the morning when he gets up and he's like, hey Megan, that's really nice to get while I'm brushing my teeth. But this morning I got a text message from Jim Atkins and he was like, hey Megan, I'm a little under the weather, but my flight looks good. All right, so without further ado, I'd like to explain to you how you guys got here. You think you came in your cars and that you came here because you love rock and roll, which is totally true. But you also came here because I love rock and roll. More specifically, I love men in bands. When I was 15 years old, I went to my first concert at the Riviera in Chicago. I don't know if any, what? My mama let me go with my sister's boyfriend and my sister and some of their friends. We went to see the Bare Naked Ladies. Street cred. Holy shit. That's so much bigger applause than I thought I would ever get for the Bare Naked Ladies. And it was pretty cool. And then I kept that hot streak of super awesome, sexy men going, and I got really into the Ben Folds 5. And specifically the bassist. And I don't know why, but so it occurred to me at age 15 that if I wanted to get backstage at a concert in Chicago, maybe I should just ask. And I don't know why I thought that was possible. I'm sure I read in a zine. I'm kidding, I wasn't as cool as Jim Atkins. I did not grow up reading zines. I read Spin and Rolling Stone like everybody else. But I heard that you could just do this. And I had a big perm, and I was still in the baby fat time that lasted from 12 to 26. And but I was owning it. And I had Chuck Taylors and I'm sure bell-bottom jeans because those were really having a big moment in the mid-90s. And I went with my twin sister to the Ben Folds 5 show at the Aragon Ballroom, and we got backstage. Because I just asked. I was just unassuming and nice with security, and I was just sort of hey, can we get backstage? And he was kind of for what? Not the first time a man has asked me that, and I was nothing. Fuck nothing. And then we stood and made small talk with these guys in a band, at 16, 15-year-old girls do. But that planted a seed. And we did it again, and we did it again, and we did it again. And then I made the bassist a necklace in my art class. So true. You're really laughing a lot, someone over there. It makes me embarrassed. But then every morning I would have to go back. So I'm from this town called Michigan City, Indiana, which is pretty small. And no one, shut up. Do I know you? No. And I would go to my public high school on Monday mornings, and I would sit in the car. Leah drove my sister and I. I waited forever to get a driver's license, and we would sit in the car, and we would be waiting to go into class. And I would have this feeling of if I go through those doors and I walk through the breezeway and I go to Madame Calloway's French class, which was my first class, I will go back to being Megan. And not cool Megan that somehow got backstage at a concert in Chicago, all running her mouth and perm. And who knows what got me backstage. I'll go back to being Megan, academic decathlon, terrible on the women's soccer team. Maybe has a date to winter formal, maybe doesn't. And that was all fine, but it was essentially just not what I wanted, which isn't what anybody wants. No one wants to be that part of themselves. And that's why you go to concerts. Maybe that's why I went backstage at concerts, but that's certainly what brought me to the show in the first place. And I would sit there and I would think about it and be I have to go. And it's Monday morning, and all I want is for it to be Saturday night. All the time. And I think that was the real moment. And probably most of you in this room have had that moment. And certainly all of our tellers have tonight, where you realize that there's there's this other sense of reality maybe waiting for you. And if you can dial into it, you can try to keep it going all the time, regardless of French class or regardless of like sitting in your car waiting to go into school. Like there's that other kind of way to be. But at 16 years old at Michigan City High School, trust me, like I didn't know that was like out there for me. And that was as close as I could come, was like going to these rock shows in Chicago. And so I thought, I can do this. I can get backstage at shows. And then I went away to college and I got backstage at even more shows. And then I made out with that guy in the band. That's a true story. And he invited me to go with him to the next town. And I was like, no. And I touched my hair like that. And I was like, true story. I had a French exam the next day that like my entire grade was writing on. And I was like, I can't go with you to Dayton, Ohio. I have a French exam. Happened. Nothing, right? But still, I didn't go. But then as I got older, I set other goals, right? Because I thought, like, oh, maybe I could do something with this magic in me. And I thought, I would like to start a night of live storytelling nights. And I thought, I don't know how it'll work. I work at a newspaper, so I know I have free promotion, but like I don't have much else. Turns out you need free promotion. That was 90% of it. And when you say I work at the newspaper, sometimes people return your phone calls, and that was another 10% of it. And I thought, okay, we're gonna do this. And you guys, we are 3 years in to live storytelling in Phoenix, Arizona. And I was so nervous about tonight because Charlie's like, we're getting more chairs. And Michelle's like, we're putting out all of our tables. And I was like, I don't think that many people are going to come. But then this little tiny part inside of me was like, oh, I have made out with the bassist from the Ben Folds 5, so I'm sure this is going to be just fine.